Okay, so I am back with all of my pieces here. This is of course the bottom piece, this is the top piece, and then of course my front and back pieces, and we're going to start putting everything together. So you should have these 4 pieces plus your little zipper pull here, and we're basically going to puzzle it together. So I'm going to start with the front piece and the top zipper piece here, and we're going to line it up how we want it to be. And so I'm centering this, so these 2 pieces are going to be stitched together. So that's my center. So in order to stitch this together, we're going to flip this way and line it up, centering it. And I'm just going to pin it down here, and I'm just making sure that everything is lined up because we want to stitch through all of the pieces. And I'm just going to pin it right here. And we're basically going to stitch it down here. I think I'm gonna, I mean, it doesn't really matter which way you stitch it, but I just want to make sure that I get all the pieces of fabric, because this, if you see here, I have like an overhang on the other side, so I want to make sure that I get all of the pieces of fabric. And we're just going to do just a simple straight stitch. Now I've already switched my sewing machine foot, so I already put the walking foot on it, because I mean, this is still pretty thin, I think. It's about four pieces of fabric that I'm stitching through, but I know I'm going to need it when I start stitching through everything else, so I just put it on anyway, just to make my life a little bit more simpler. So this is probably the point in which, if you have a walking foot, that you should change out your foot and put it on your sewing machine. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and just sew just like a line, like straight down like that, so that I can adhere this piece to the front piece. So that's all I did, was make a little stitch there. So I'm going to pull these guys apart, and when you flip it back, it should look like that. So that's how it should look. The 2 pieces should be attached, and that's your front side of your little pouch. And so now here is like the little tricky bits, is to make the little corners, when the things go like that and stuff. I feel like I did this part of it last though, because this is where the bottom piece also connects with the top, this bottom piece connects with the top piece. And so I am going to sew the back piece on the way that I sewed this front piece on. So I'm just sort of like straightening out that, and you're just going to sew it on the same exact way. You're going to line it up, making sure that it's lined up with this now, because those 2 have to meet. And I'm going to flip it and just line it up the best that I can. And again, I'm going to pin them down over here, and I'm going to sew a straight stitch. So we have our front and our back, and so when the thing, when we actually make the pouch, you see it's already forming. And so the tricky bit is now to sew all this together. But before we do that, I think I'm not sure if I should start sewing these guys together down and then sew the bottom, or start sewing the bottom down and do the top portion of this bit, because I will have to The trickiest part is to sew this with the end of this, because it's like you have to do this like weird thing here and then sew it down, unless I do that first, like actually sew all this down together, like sew it here, so that it's like one continuous loop, and then start sewing it onto this side. So first I'm just going to figure out where everything is going to sit so that I know, because we're going to have to sew it backwards basically, because we're sewing it inside out, so all the seams will be on the inside. So this will be sewn in like that, and so I think that's what I'm going to do though. I think I'm going to kind of sew this baby in like this. So I'm gonna, let me pin it and see exactly where I need to sew it together to have the length that I need for the entire pouch. So I'm gonna pin it there. And so, no, that's the wrong way. That's the wrong way. This has to go like this. Okay, that's the right way now. So it'll be like that. And then I'm going to just, basically going to just test it out just to see if that is where I need to like pin it. Yeah, I think that'll be good enough, because then this will go, this will have to be like that somehow. So even if I do it a little bit more, so like maybe only that much, if we can see, if only that much of this floral piece shows. So I think that's why I did it last when I did the big one, because we don't know exactly how much of this we're going to need when we, sew all these, sew the front and the back to it, because it's like a band. But you know what? I think I am going to just sew it here, only because I can always shorten it when I get to the end here. So I am going to make this one continuous strip. Just going to try it out and see. So I'm going to leave this pinned like this, and I'm just going to sew like right down, but I'm going to put this meter on this. So yeah, I'm going to, think I'm gonna sew it just straight down this way here to just adhere those two pieces together. So now it's like one continuous piece, and now I'm going to start adhering the sides to it. So I think I'm going to do the front first. And so what we have to do now, this is like where it gets like really crazy and complicated, but we're going to have to sew everything inside out. And so I am trying to line up everything here, and we're going to sew this piece to this piece. And so I'm going to try my best to line everything up here. Since we're doing corners, you're going to see me like sort of triangle things a lot. And what I mean by that is, since this has to go like this piece is sort of going to be at an like a little angle here. I am probably going to cut this off because I don't need it, since it's already sewn together. That way I don't have to sew through too much bulk there. But yeah, so this now, I'm going to angle that so that there's like an angle there, and I'm going to pin this down to this because this is where I have to sew. I have to sew down this way now. So I am going to get a pin, just kind of pin all this together. And so I have to make sure that I don't sew through like a lot of this stuff here, but I need to sew from here down to here. Don't worry about your corners yet. I'm gonna go over the corners after I do like the sides. I'm actually going to probably sew this like this on a diagonal, but for right now I just want to make sure that everything is lined up in a way that I can just sew that straight corner, the straight edge here. So I'm basically going to sew down this way now, just adhering this piece to this, because then we're going to have to do this corner again and turn this over so that we can sew it like this. So hopefully that was clear. So I want to make sure that I get all of everything. So I am going to probably follow this line stitch right here. So that way I make sure that I get all the pieces sewn. And I'm just going to stop right there and just check this to see how this looks. So you can inside out it and see. And so now these pieces are together, and then you have that corner which I didn't really sew through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to flatten that out as much as possible, and I'm just going to sew it like sort of diagonally there. Again, I'm just going to check it, and you have your first corner. And so that first side is done, really. And so now I'm going to just continue this on the bottom. I'm going to sew this portion to this portion. Again, we're going to make another one of those corners. So you're just going to try to line up everything as best as you can. This is going to have to triangle here so that you can sew down this way. So I'm going to pin this and sew, and I'm probably going to follow this stitch here when I stitch both things together. I'm going to follow that line or that line. It doesn't really matter which line. That way you know that you're getting all the layers of fabric sewn together. So I'm going to pin this down here, and again just sew around it. We're just going to follow that stitch, and then we're going to come back and do the fun corner bit. So I have that. I'm just going to unpin this and check it. Looks good. So I'm going to do the corner now. Again, going to flatten it out the best I can and do like a little diagonal. I'm going to do a diagonal front stitch and back stitch over it, like the last time. And so this is what you're going to keep doing until you get all the sides, you know, sewn together. You're going to keep just following the stitch lines, stitching all them together, and then doing these little corners the way that we're doing them. So I'm going to open this up and check it out. And of course I have some of these threads poking through, but that's fine. We can always just cut them. These little threads, they're the threads that are poking through from the other side, but you can just cut them, no harm done. So if we undo this, now we have this side. So we have this front side now, and you can see like this pen holder part is actually really small, but a Muji pen can fit in it. So let's see. And I think another Muji pen can fit into this. So if you have, well, if I have small, I think I'm going to put paintbrushes in here though, so it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, so that's how this side is supposed to look. And now we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to sew this piece to this side, and we're not going to connect it. I don't think we're going to connect it just yet, only because I need to put this pull thing, and actually, right, am I doing this right? I'm trying to figure out if I did this correctly. Yeah, I'm going to have to put the pull in between this piece and this piece when I go to sew the ends together. So I don't think I'm going to do the ends just yet. I'm going to keep that end piece unsewn, so that way when I sew up this side, I can do that last. So I'm just going to finish up sewing this piece to the front. This is because this is the front of the pouch here. Again, I'm going to inside out it, and I'm going to line it up. I have my little triangle here, going to line it up the best I can, and I'm going to stitch. I'm going to, let me pin this, and then I'm going to stitch it up exactly the same way that we've been stitching up the other sides, doing the corners the way that we have been. And so I'm going to do that. I might not stitch it all the way, like I'll probably stop right here so that I have a good enough piece to piece these two guys together when I have to. So I'm going to just probably start from right here and stitch down, and then of course stitch my corner. So again, I'm going to start probably a little bit below this here, and I'm just going to stitch down to the corner. Now I'm just going to flatten out my corner and stitch it down like we've been stitching them down. Of course, we can inside out it just to check if everything is okay. Now, if you see here, like the stitch that I did before, when I stitch these two together, you can actually see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to flip this over and maybe re-stitch there, I think, so that it'll look a little bit better and probably a bit more secure. So I'm going to do that now and just follow this second stitch. And it'll look like that, and I don't think I have to do the corner again because I already did it. So that looks way better to me. And so that is the front panel. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing but with the back. So we're going to attach this piece to the back piece. And so that's a little bit more trickier. What I suggest that you do is open up your zipper, so that way you have that space here to put your hands in when you need them. But we're basically going to do the same thing. You're going to sew all these sides together, and then you're going to inside out it. That's why you need the zipper open. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera because it's basically the same. I am just going to pin down each part here. So I'm going to start by lining it with the inside here, and I'm going to start with the back first. So I think that might be the best, or you can start with this side first, whichever side you feel makes more sense to you. I think I'll probably just pin it all down first and see how it all lays out. So let me just do that now so that you can see what I'm doing. Just pin all the sides together. And then of course we're going to leave this last because we have to put that little pull. So you're basically going to sew this down and then do the corner like we've been doing, this down, do the corner again here, and then this down. And then you can always inside out it. That's why you need the zipper open, just to make sure that everything looks okay. And then I will show you how to do the last bit, which is closing it up and putting your little zipper pull. So since this is the same that we did on the first with the first side, I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera so that'll be really quick and easy, and then I can come back and show you how to finish it off. Okay, so I sewed the sides up, so this is what I have left, is this opening on the side. And so this is the part where we're going to put our little tab pull thing at. And so what we want to do is sort of pull this piece down. So this is that bottom piece. We're going to kind of pull it down and we're going to line it up with this bit here. So I'm going to line it up, and we want to line it up so that it lines up with the side here. So we're just going to try to line it up the best we can here on the side, and we want to pin everything down. Right? So if you look like on the inside, you can actually see how it's supposed to look. Let me turn it this way. This is where your the pull is supposed to go. It's supposed to go like right there. So we want to make sure that that's there too, and we're gonna pin everything down. So your pull should be in here. So this last part is going to be a little tricky, but we're going to just pin everything down, making sure everything is lined up here, here, and that the pull is right there. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to pin the pull, the little pull bit down here at the bottom right here, so that it's already where it's supposed to be. And we're just going to, you know, sew that on. So if I can, there you go, get it in there so I don't have to worry about that. So I've kind of put it there, and that's going to be on the inside, and then these guys are going to line up like this, and we're going to line everything up here. So let's see if we can line up every piece. You know what? I'm starting to think maybe it might be easier just to sew this bit on like that. See, this is like the really tricky part, because you have to sew, we're going to have to sew this together, but then we also have to finish sewing the sides. So I'm thinking, as I'm looking at it, it's really hard too to like have it lay a certain way so you can see it, but I'm thinking of maybe just sewing these two pieces together. So if this is where my pin is, I'm going to have to sew it like right here across so that everything is sewn how it's supposed to be sewn. So let me take this off again so that I can pin it better here. And probably sew like right above where I have that pin set, and just sew across like that, and then sew the sides. So I'm going to try that out first. So we're going to try it out and see if it works. It should work, hopefully, but just to get that sewn in, so I'm going to set up here again. Let me reposition you so you can actually see. everything. And I'm just going to, again, sew across that. So if I can get my thing in here, I'm going to do it this way. And I need to make it as straight as possible if I can, because it looks kind of crooked. So you know what, I'm gonna just close it up there a little bit. So I close my zipper up a little so that I can get this to lie flat. And I know that that's where my pin was, and so I want to make a straight line, or as straight as possible, right across this. So I don't know if we can see it well, but I'm just going to go and do that. And hopefully it's straight. Easy peasy. Now I'm just going to open it up and see how well that's sewed. So I'm gonna just unfold it, everything, and just see how well that side sewed up. So that's how that looks, and then the pull is there. I think that's pretty good. It's a lot higher up, I noticed, than this one. So I did, you know, I might have made this a little too short. Do you see my inconsistency there? I was expected to mess up at some point in this tutorial, but that's fine. It's just it's basically a little crooked. And I can't do anything about that because this needed to be a little bit longer. I think that's what that means. Although I can make it a little bit longer and make this a little bit shorter. Yeah, so I might undo that and do it over again. So, and this is how I do it. Even though I backstitch, you're just gonna have to, you know, undo all of these stitches here in order just to get it undone. If you have a seam ripper, that is way better than using these scissors, but this does the job, and this is on the inside anyway, so it's not like you're gonna see it if you like accidentally cut the fabric or whatever. And then I just rip it apart. And we're gonna undo all of this here. Alright, let's try that again. So, since this needs to be a little bit longer, I might have to open this up some more, like pull this open up some more so that I can put this in. So what I probably want to do first is kind of sew this side down so that I know, like sew that. See, if I sew it that, then it kind of lines up with that. So I'm going to do that first. So let's inside out this. And I'm basically going to sew just this bit down to this bit. So this we're going to move out of the way because we don't want to sew that. We're just going to sew, and that's a corner there too if you noticed. So we're going to just sew that down there like that. And I'm going to do it on the other side as well and just sew it down. Just sew that side down like that too. So I'm going to go do that, and hopefully that lines it up better. And so I'm just checking how this looks here. So yeah, so that's basically what you want to do. This one, I'd probably have to reinforce that corner. This one looks pretty fine, but I'll reinforce the corners later. And let's see, how does that look? Kind of looks a little tight, right? I have to move this down a little bit because if you can see it, I don't know if you can see, if I line them up, this is actually a little bit more longer. And so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to undo some of these stitches here. So I think I did undo some of them, but I'm going to have to undo a few more to get it down to the same spot that it is on the other side. So let me undo this. And so you're going to have to play around to get matching sides, you know, just keep undoing stitches that you've probably already done and just kind of look at your pouch inside out to see if it lines up. I think that lines up, if you can see on this side. I think it lines up pretty well. I mean, this part is still a little under this pocket here, but let me see. But I think considering it, I think that lines up pretty darn good. So I'm going to pin that there, and I'm going to start sewing it. So this is the part now where we need to put our little pole on the inside. And so basically like how I did it before, that's literally how we're going to do it now. It's just I'm going to sew it in the correct spot. So I know that my pole needs to be here. It needs to stick out. So let's see. That has to be down here like that, right? So I have to line this up in a way. I'm going to pin them. I'm going to start pinning stuff so that I know where exactly I would need to pull my pole. So I'm going to pin these two pieces together. And these are just these two pieces. And so now I'm going to look on the inside here. If we can see, I don't know how well you guys can see, but my pole has to now stick up like from that. So I'm going to kind of tuck it as best as I can there. And so I know that it has to stick out like right there. And so I'm going to pin this to this part. I'm not going to sew this part, obviously. I'm just going to have it pinned there so that I know that it's secure and it's in place, and it'll get sewn when I sew everything. So that means I'll have to sew down here. But what I have to do now is I'll have to sew a line across this way. Basically like we did before. It's just, like I said, this part is like super difficult. It's really hard. But so yeah, I know my crease is right here, so I'm going to have to sew along that crease there. So I am going to unpin these guys so I don't sew through them. And I'm just going to sew that line on my sewing machine. So let's put this back into place and sew that on. We're going to see how well I did now. Now we're going to unfold it again and see how well I sewed that together. And so my pull is there, it is secure, and so basically what you're going to have to do once you have that all secure, you're just going to sew down the sides here that aren't sewn yet so that they're flushed to these guys right here, so that you're closing up those holes. And so since that's good and dandy, I am going to actually cut all of this off since I don't need it anymore. Like I don't need these sides anymore here. I don't need these sides anymore. And then like all of this, literally you don't need anymore because you sewed it right here. So you're gonna, if you want, you can cut as close to this line as possible where you sewed it all together, but you don't need any of this excess and it's just in the way, and so I'm just going to cut mine off. So when you sew up those little holes, it should look like this with your pull coming out, so that way the zipper goes here. I think I put the pull on the wrong side. Oh no, maybe when you open it up it goes like that, yeah. You can put a pull on this side too. I just put it on the one side, and my little pouch here is a little out of shape because I haven't yet cut like all this excess stuff off on any of the pieces, even the corners, and so that's what I'm gonna do now to finish it up. And what I mean by that is, you know, how you have the excess fabric, like all of this fabric, that's where the stitch is, and this is all this fabric. I'm just gonna trim that, and this is where I'm going to use my pinking shears so that I can get the nice little scallopy trim on the inside. And so I'm going to do that off camera because you really don't need to see me cut this. And it's actually a bit difficult to cut because I'm cutting through all of these layers of fabric, and so I'm not gonna film that. But basically, I'm just gonna use my pinking shears to make the nice little scallop edge all around the inside of my pouch, and then that way when I fold it back up again, it'll sit a little bit better than it does now. But that is basically how you create your own little Delfonics pouch. And so I'm going to show you. That doesn't fit there, but it fits up here. So that's a pocket there. That's a pocket there. And then of course I have my two pen loops here. See? And then I have a little pocket here and another little pocket here. And then of course I have the two pockets back here and the big pocket right there. And then when you open it up, I have the two inner pockets. We can see the one in there and then the one in here on this side. On this side. So yeah, so that is how you create your own little journaling pouch in sort of the Delfonics style. I really hope this tutorial was simple and straightforward, and I really hope that you all can follow along really nicely. And thank you so much for watching these videos, and please give all of the parts a thumbs up if you like. So like I really took a lot of time out to do this tutorial, so a thumbs up will be awesome on all the videos. And yeah, so I'm going to do another video showing you how what I keep in here, and so be on the lookout for that. But other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!